الله عليه وسلم عن الصلاة في بيتي والصلاة في المسجد. He says that I asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in regards to praying in my home and in regards to praying at the masjid. قال قد ترى ما أقرب بيتي من المسجد. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, you see how close my house is to the masjid? Those of you who have been to Masjid al-Nabawi, any of you been to Masjid al-Nabawi? Hands up. Those who have not been, those who have been, Allah allows us all to go again. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ma bayna bayti wa minbari rawdatan min riyadil jannah." What's between my house and my pulpit is a garden from the gardens of paradise. Those of you who have been to that Jannah, Allah accept your visits, and those who have not been or those who have been, Allah allow us to go there again and again. Allah allow us to go there again and again. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. This man says, I said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I asked about reading salah at home and salah in the masjid. Basically, he was looking for some leniency from the Prophet. Like we all do, we are human, we look for the easy way out. He asked the Prophet, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the first response he gave to him was, he said, قَدْ تَرَى مَا أَقْرَبَ بَيْتِي مِنَ الْمَسَاجِدِ. That you can see how close my house is to the masjid. Right next door, not even minutes, seconds. فَلَأَنْ أُصَلِّي فِي بَيْتِي أَحَبُّ إِلَيَّ مِنْ أَنْ أُصَلِّيَ فِي الْمَسْجِدِ إِلَّا أَنْ تَكُونَ صَلَاةً مَكْتُوبَةً أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you see how close my house is to the masjid, meaning for me to go to the masjid is not a difficulty. The Prophet, this is what he meant when he said, you can see my house, how close it is to the masjid, so it's not difficult for me to go there. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that it's more beloved to me that I read my prayers in my house, except those prayers which are the maktuba, the fard salah, which should be read within the masjid. This is one narration, and in the other narration we find that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, do not make your houses into graveyards. I cannot remember the words of the hadith exactly. Don't make your houses into graveyards, i.e. you should read salah within your houses as well. There are various blessings that come with the reading of salah into the house. So this is something, the sunnahs for Zohar, for example, they can be read at the home. It's a forgotten sunnah, so you should try to act upon it. When things become forgotten, the hadith of Mishkat al-Masabih is that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that a person who revives, you know what revivalism is? Revivalism is something which already existed, but it's become a forgotten phenomena. It exists already. It's not the case where it's an innovation, something new that's come about, but rather it's something that already existed, but people have forgotten about that practice. The Prophet ﷺ, in one narration, he mentioned that a person who revives my sunnah when it's become forgotten. That's what revivalism is. A person who revives my sunnah, he will receive the reward of 100 martyrs. You know, this question, sometimes we look for shortcuts, and when we don't want to read the sunnahs, we give ourselves a bit of peace. Tasalli dete hai na, कि ये सुन्नत है, कोई बात नहीं. It's not fard, it's not maktuba, it's not fard, it's not wajib, it's a sunnah. So we think that if it's a sunnah, it's okay for us to leave it. The reward of a person who revives a sunnah which has become forgotten, you receive the reward of 100 martyrs. And our role should always be to be those people who aid in reviving the sunnah wa ta'ala, that he makes us from those who propagate and teach and implement and follow the teachings of the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, rather than being from those people who forget the sunnahs of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, during his worship, which we have mentioned, there would be a kayfiyah. You know the 7 who are promised the shade on the Day of Judgment. One of them is a person who reflects worship and tears flow from his eyes. And when we look at the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it would be to such an extent in narrations. It comes, Abdullah bin Shakhir, he says, an abihi, from his father, قال أتيت رسول الله sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وهو يصلي, and he was praying, ولجوفه عزيز كعزيز المرجل من البكاء. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was praying, and I could hear a sound. Now listen to this carefully. The Prophet was praying, this companion comes and he says, when I came close to the Prophet ﷺ, I could hear a sound, and the sound was like a boiling kettle. The sound was like a boiling kettle, and this sound could be heard from the blessed chest of the Prophet ﷺ due to his weeping. You know, when a person cries excessively, and this pumping sound, this boiling sound, like a kettle boiling, this was the kayfiyah of the Prophet ﷺ when he would read salah. And where do you think this came from? It came from one, taqwa, the spiritual consciousness and the God, and two is relation to understanding what's being recited.